Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna adjust this microphone. Alright, that should be a little better. Hopefully I'm not picking up any of the sound from moving the stand. Okay. Tonight, I brought in a few sketches that I did this week with Copic markers. We'll get these all set up. So normally what I'll do is I'll grab the layers, I'll set them to multiply. Then you go to your move tool and just arrange them on the canvas. Now, for this approach, I think what I'm going to end up doing is cutting out these characters and objects, and then clipping them to, or rather clipping a color pass to them, like just a solid fill. We've done that method a few times, and then we'll just build it up from there. So let's get into it. Let's see. So what I would do in this case, we'll go L for the lasso tool, and I'm just looking for big shapes here. Okay, let's see. And we can adjust these shapes later as need be. Okay, I'll cut that shape out there. There is, I think, a benefit to trying to get the larger shapes in quickly and with like fluid lines, because I think you'll end up with a cleaner silhouette that's easier to follow. You don't want to get in here and be doing too much like tight correction like that, because that will result in things not quite lining up the way you want them to. Okay, so that's probably fine for this guy here. So we'll just do Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. All right, so then if we hide everything else, that's what we got. And then to go ahead and give you that idea there, we'll do a solid fill here. We can set this. There's two ways we can do this, really. We can either set this to like multiply, or we can do the opposite, which is probably preferred. So I'll control click this. I'll mask that fill, and then I'll just reverse them. So I'll actually pin this to the color, and then we'll set this as multiply, since this is just a shadow layer basically, and then we can adjust this as need be. Okay. One consideration with this method, though, is that if we want to adjust this, like say we want to do like a liquify on it or something, it's probably best to do that early on. So if we unpin them, and we'll just go to liquify. Ooh. I'll zoom in on this. I'll zoom out just a little bit, just to get, let's go for the big picture, right? So the one thing I really want to sell with this is like the head is really small. And that might not be the scale that it needs to be. But I do want a small head. And then I think I want to have more like a cleaner shape here. So I want this to lead up to the elbow and then back in. And then maybe we can drop this arm back behind. This hand here, do we want that larger, smaller? What do we want? And I think we need to move the whole torso. I like to have the alignment of the hips, shoulder, you know, down to the feet so that it doesn't feel like he's... I do want these in motion, but I don't want them to appear like he's falling over. Alright, that's probably fine. Let's go in with that. We'll have our adjustments. So then if we're going from, let's see, our original is here and there. Alright, so we'll just control click that. Again, move that mask in here. So we'll delete the old mask. Add in the mask. Pin that down. There we go. Alright, so let's do the other guys. So we'll just go here. We got Elijah in the chat. Welcome, welcome. What's going on tonight? Hopefully you've got a sketchbook or some kind of painting app open and get your own, get some progress on your own projects going. That is assuming that you're an artist and interested in creating your own works. I don't know. Some people just are just here to watch and enjoy, and that's fine. Though I do tend to think that those most interested are other artists. Artistic minds. Okay. Alright, so we got another one. Let's see, is that... yeah, let's see, maybe that. Clean that up a little bit. There's not much going on here, you know, with this arm, so that's something to, you know, we'll probably revisit, but same thing. We'll paste that. And we'll just do them all while we're here. Again, you know, see, I was tempted to kind of just like cut that in. I think it's smarter to just do the shape, you know, completely. So like just swipe through the shoulders, do the head. And the reason for that, again, is I think you get much cleaner rhythms in the work. Okay, there's one. We'll do this guy here. They're kind of like almost abstract football players, and okay. Got a few more, and then we're done. And by done, I mean ready to start. Let's see, how do I want this? Do I want to go all the way out? I actually kind of like it being tucked in like that. We'll see. We might add that back in later, but Go with this for now. Okay, so we got that. I think we can hide all this now. So we've got our major players, and then we're going to do the same thing. So we'll do, actually, I'll just move that up and delete the mask, and we'll just do this for each layer. Alright, then we start by control click, mask, pin it down. Control click, mask, and pin it down. And before you know it, we'll have it all ready to go. Alright, so then now we take these, set them to multiply, because these are just the drawings, so they're the shadow layers. Okay, and we'll just go ahead and group all that. We'll just call that the characters. So just grab them all, hit Control G, name it. Okay, we'll do a new fill. We'll leave the background in there. I don't know why, but we'll just do it. What kind of scene are we thinking here? We could take this original and yep, have that as multiply, and we can just start. We use the smudge brush here. I'm gonna rasterize this because currently it's a smart object, so we'll just start chopping this up. We're just kind of pushing things around here. We might get around to doing some of those other mechs, but those are really, they're separate drawings. I mean, they're on the same page, you know, but I did not consider them the same compositionally. But anyway, it's all free noise we can bring in. Okay, so let's go up to our characters tab, hide that. We'll, get this background going a little more. I'll just clean it up a little bit here. I think you can start with abstraction and then build out what you want these shapes to represent. You know, whether it's smoke or, you know, objects, you know, environmental objects, you know, buildings and technical doodads and whatnot. Okay, let's scooch around here. Have a look at our scene. Okay, let's have a look. Bring our characters back in. I'm going to bring this up in value. You know, kind of what I'm thinking is we can use a kind of fogginess in there, but I think we've got to start from the right place. For one, I'm going to take all of this and expand it, and we can clean it up later. But well, actually, let's do two things here. First of all, I'm going to take all this and we'll group that. So I'll move this up here. I'm going to move that over, make it smaller, and we'll just start dealing with this as a thumbnail. Okay, so we'll take our original group, call that work group, and then we'll just call this one thumb nail. I'm going to write out the whole word, type it all. No one can stop us, really. Actually, that's not true. There are plenty of ways to stop people from typing. But let's go ahead and, you know, we could play with these colors. I don't think it's particularly necessary at this stage because we're going to be kind of jumping back and forth. But I think it's okay to start thinking about it in terms of a base that we can get a bunch of variations off of. I do kind of like this idea of, you know, having them cast shadows on each other. That'd be kind of neat. All right, now let's go in here, just start paint again. Something. So one of the concepts here is that, you know, these are just massive, you know, the four here are massive, and then you've got the, kind of the normal troops underneath. And so I think we could adjust it. One thing is to keep the horizon low. We could also adjust the whole group to change the perspective. So let's go ahead and contain that within a mask. We got our characters there. Let's go ahead and paint over that. I'm going to zoom out so we can kind of view this just like on really just a micro, macro, big shapes. Looking for the bigness. Okay, so now I can zoom back in. I don't like how these hips are tilted here. If he's supposed to be walking forward, kind of want this to be more clearly that pose. I don't know, that's pretty extreme. And this, I think we can lighten that value just a little bit so that it, it's in shadow, but it pushes back farther. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that. Just a little bit too low. Alright, zoom out. And I think that's okay. So we'll start with this as a base. I'm gonna merge this all together. Actually, I think what we need to do, let's do this. We'll go control click there, control shift Z, control V. So that way we've got it as a just a complete raster layer. Okay, now there's a couple things I want to do. So let's make two of them. Okay, so we've got our original here on the left, which has all the editable fiddly bits, and then this one here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to control click that, set that as the mask, and then unchain them, unlink them together. That way I can do some warp and adjustments on the image and keep the same square mask. Rectangle. Alright, so I'll click on the image, Control T. We're going to go Control. So if we want to make these, appear more massive, then it would make sense to have a lower horizon, have them diminish in space. I don't know how extreme I want that effect to be, because there's a so if I invert that, the shape is supposed to be kind of top heavy. Right. Well, so let's do a couple different versions, because we can do this all night long. We might even. Okay. Bring that one over there. Okay, so I'll go with this guy. Same thing, control click. Do that. Control click the layer, add the mask, unchain it. Now we're rocking and rolling again. This one. What if we set it really low and have them in the distance? Okay. Then we may need to extend this up here. And I think to make it work, we kind of need to have, like these are like a tree layer or something lower. Maybe this is like could be a rock structure or buildings or something here. But I think we need to show, if we want to get that scale working, we got to show that these guys they're massive. They're bigger than the trees. And we could have all this kind of recede, like kind of, not quite a 3-point perspective, but have them kind of move in towards the top, creeping in a little bit, converging up here, way, way, way up there. Okay, it's fine. Don't want to go too far. Alright, so control click this one, mask, unchain, go to our adjustments, taller. We can make them crop the top of the image so they're really pushing towards the top. Alright, we'll do another one. Control click that, control click the layer, mask, unchain. And then this one, let's do what I originally had said, where we converge on the top. The question is, how extreme of an effect do you want with that? You can only push it so far until it breaks. You know? Actually, though, I do kind of like that version being kind of cut off lower, so you don't see the ground. Okay, and then finally maybe this one will do that, where it's, whoops, can do the mask first. There we go. Now we can go big, frame it all, no ground. Okay. Now these are pretty similar. This one you get a little bit of the ground. It's not as distorted, more top heavy. This one you got some of that distortion. See how there, he's pulling in, that's pulling in. Cut off more of the ground, so you're intentionally having the camera look up. Okay, so now we can do. Actually, I'll just group these all, and these are our thumbs, whatever. Not very creative with the naming tonight. This will set to overlay in the channels, or the blend modes, and then we will start messing with that. Just trying things out here. Just experimenting. A little darker and richer with that. And push it back a little bit. Get some of those grays reintroduced. Okay, there's a thought. Anyway, this is a decent method to start building up various ideas here, because we've got this overlay layer linked to the group, then we just kind of work across them. We don't have to have too complicated of a setup. Just start to play with these. And because we have our overlay going on, we're not doing too much damage to the original sketch. I don't know about that complementary color. It's just too. I mean, this is kind of why we're doing this, right? We're experimenting. But I find that complementary color to be just too. It's too much, too happy. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Like something in this slightly off red here. I think they call that pink. Off red? No, it's off red. It's not pink. I have decided. All right, let's do another one. Let's see, we haven't really explored the terrible world of greens and yellows. Just it makes a thing real. What's the term? Noxious? Is that what I'm saying? Thinking? It just almost feels poisonous. It's like your brain knows. Don't go there. That's bad news. Okay. What do we want to do next? Go with the passion colors. All the purples and golds. They do bring out these really moody environments. You get the balance right. You know, you would think it would be like, you know, nighttime, maybe even girly or something. But you can get these to work to a very effective image, I think, in terms of these kind of abstract sci-fi worlds. Just have this mood to them, you know. Let's see here. So I think I want to darken down that background. I don't know how much we'll be able to do that with just the overlay. I do like the introduction of some gray. But where we'll want to be a little more strategic about. You know, doing it as the sky. You know, you can do that sometimes, especially if you're thinking of the sky as maybe like a, I don't know, there's a fog back there and you can kind of desaturate towards the horizon or something. But if you go too far with that, I think what ends up happening is you lose the strength of the kind of ambient light, right? So whatever's tinting the whole scene, you know, tilting it towards red or purple or whatever, if that's not in your sky, well, it's got to be like a local, you could do it with a local color, I guess, but if you put it in the sky, then it makes sense visually as to why the whole thing is saturated in that tone. Maybe go a little brighter in here. And I think especially when you zoom in on these, you know, you knock out the other color options and you see this full screen, then you kind of get more immersed. So we'll go like this, get more immersed in that color palette. So if we switch image to image, and then our original. All right, so now we can do curves and color balances on these. We could just do like a overall. We just pin that to the whole group and just kind of see if we can get a similar effect that we maybe like. And then some will have to go in thumbnail by thumbnail and decide what we want. Okay, and I suspect if we move this below our overlay, we'll get a wildly different result. See? Okay, so now let's go to color balance. This is one where it'll tend to homogenize all of these into one. It'll bring all the colors closer if we do it all together like this. So we may, have to break these out, but if you have it attached to the group, you can kind of see what effect it's having. Which images are really starting to pop out to you is interesting. So like this top right one here, as I'm kind of adjusting it, I'm more towards these warm tones, but then in the shadow, having it push a little darker all the way to black, which we can adjust that if we want. Go super bright. Don't really like that. I like the kind of more moody something in there. And then let me check out this shadow layer again. I think when we push that to black, we get more contrast, which is nice. But if we gonna leave it saturated, then it appears to have a little more atmosphere. But I'm gonna go with we'll go with two versions on that one. So let's go ahead and select that thumbnail. Which one is that one? There we go. So that'll be our mask there. And just looking at the chat here. 58 Elron. Hey Eric. Hello chat. Awesome colors. I have a lot of trouble knowing what looks best, especially when doing color balancing. Only realize I like or hate something next day or a week later. Laugh out loud. Well, that's true. Actually, I think we get locked into what we're seeing, right? So our eyes adjust to it. I think that's why it's good to, obviously it's good to take breaks, but it's good to just throw in like color balances and curves and just start playing with it at different stages. So for example, like I really like this, that combination with the color balance and the curve off. So I'm going to just grab that Control Shift C, Control V, and then we're going to move that over. Okay, and then we'll play with this a little bit more. There's this version. Again, we'll grab that, Control Shift C, Control V, move that one over. Okay, same deal. Now I'm thinking we could adjust this in the shadow area if we bring this up and make that maybe feel a little more foggy. There's more particles in the air. So there's basically we're just going for lower contrast, but we're really bringing up that that cast of light that's kind of getting caught in the particles in the air. So that's another version that we can save off. And with any of these, I always find that there's multiples, multiple iterations as you're going for. So for like this guy over here, we might layer this a couple of times, Let's go back into this and let's say, go back to our shadows and, I see. We need to make a new version right there. Delete that, make that the mask. And okay, now let's adjust this one in solitude. We're starting to balance a little bit there. And then let's head towards more of those garish colors. Highlights. As far as the color, you were mentioning color in the chat. I think you can think about it in terms of, harmonies and contrast. If you have contrasting colors, you, of course, will end up with a more kind of visual pop, right? So I'm going to save this one off. Whoops. Just going to unpin that. But that contrast is not always what you want. Sometimes you could think of starting with like an analogous. So like this here, you get like a teal and a green, or you can spin this over. And this is actually Coolerus is a plugin that I use, which is super handy for that. You can kind of pick different types of color combinations. So like this is complementary, and then this is a split complementary. So you'd have like a blue with a, with some warms on the other side. You've got, analogous over here. So it just kind of helps you keep within a certain range. So you might think about it in those terms. But yeah, I think really pushing your options when you're working with these by throwing in a color balance, throwing in some curves. And the reason you would do that in combination, I've said this like a million times, how color and value have a relationship. So like right here, we wouldn't be able to have that intense of those colors if they weren't in the mids, right? Whereas here, as we're pushing towards black, you cannot really saturate those as they get dark. There are some colors that are naturally darker when they're saturated. Your blues, red is kind of okay for that, but really in this area, blue is we're going to get deep dark saturation. Obviously, your bright lighter values. So what you can do. Actually, maybe we'll do it with one of these. Let's do like. What would be a good example? Maybe, probably this one. We already started working on it. I'm just kind of squinting and looking at the light and dark values and thinking if we take this and we go move that one down here. And then let's do a curves layer on that. And we're just going to push the bright up. And actually, we're just going to take everything up. And then we're going to increase our saturation in the midtones. Okay, so then it's maybe a little tricky to recolor this, but I think we'll go a little lighter in our light values. So let me pin that, as in create a clipping mask. That's the actual correct way of saying it, I guess. I just like to say pinning. I'm going to pin that. What do you mean, Eric? I don't exactly know. Okay, so then we've desaturated our brights, right? Okay. And then we'll bring in another hue saturation. We may just do the opposite here. And we'll saturate those mids. So we'll bring the white over, that over, like that. And then we'll bring up the saturation there. So you can get some stylized effects by kind of choosing, okay, like I can really deeply saturate if I'm in the middle tone, and then just have it fade off to, a lighter, less saturated tone for white. And so this would be This isn't quite high key because there is a lot of middle in there, but where you end up in terms of value is pretty important in terms of where you can go color-wise. Let's see. Kind of like those deep reds. Don't want to go too crazy with it. I think we could use a color balance on there. To get like a shift as it goes from one value to the next. I think in our highlights, I might try to just push that towards gray, like actually balance that out to white. And that's just by, you look at the color that you've got and then you just go to the opposite of it. So if you're saying, okay, that's yellow, I'm gonna add more blue. Okay, I want to get rid of that red. And of course that's getting more into the mids, but you could move away from your red with your cyan. You know. And then let's see, shadows. Let's go back to our mids. I think I'll move away from that blue a little bit there. So anyway, we can zoom back in on that. You can see you have kind of some stylistic decisions to make when you're messing with color. And really the point that I'm making out of this is the value range that you end up in for your overall composition can help you drive, can help you kind of understand where you want to head with color. Sorry if this is all like, stuff you've already heard before, but again, that's why I do that combination of curves and color balance, so I can kind of push the values where they need to be in order to get the color that you want. So like this one, I think we could go even crazier with curves on that. And if you want to do it more elegantly, you can just do it all in one pass with your curves. Okay, so I'm gonna bring all that down. I think I'll push that up in value. Yeah, something like that. And then we can come in channel by channel. So this is where we control the kind of the color shift instead of doing it with a color balance. This requires a little bit more understanding of how colors mix in terms of at least your RGB. Whereas the other system with color balance, you end up kind of pushing things. I don't know if it's quite CMYK, but it's you're balancing magentas versus greens and yellows and cyans and all that, or reds and cyans and yellows and blues. So maybe we want to push that more towards gray. So then we could either we could pull out the green a little bit in there, or we can counterbalance it with the other two channels. So right now we're dealing with red. And it might be easier conceptually just to go to the green channel. You know, so we can reduce the amount of green. But then you can see we also have to shift some of the other values. And again, the darker we go, see, it kind of feels more like a crisp scene. I mean, that's okay. I like the style of that. But if I want to keep that kind of fogginess, I need to go a little bit higher in my dark zone. And then so with this, if you got green, if you have a very kind of orange, green and orange kind of cast, then blue you can bring in to just kind of mute it, or you could cut it out to you know, to just go full bore on those colors. Full bore, that's the technical term. Yeah, just go full bore. I'm gonna go half bore, 3/4 bore, go full bore. Seven 16ths bore. Okay, that's fine. What do we need? What do we need? I think we could explore some of the other options here. This one, you know, was one that just barely got off the ground, so let's figure that one out. There we go. We'll do... And again, you know, seeing this in a lineup is going to affect the way that we see it. But we'll zoom in, we'll get it, you know, in full view, and we'll kind of deal with it in isolation. But I think it probably is a good idea to see it side by side for now, so that we don't end up getting so crazy, you know, that our eyes adjust to it and we lose track of where we are. Okay, I think that's kind of cool. We'll do another version. Over here. This guy. Color balance. Boop. And let's see. We want to lean into that, those purples. So that, you know, our yellow is actually not yellow at all. And then in our shadows, I think we need to lean away a little bit because it's just getting so saturated, like right here. See how saturated that is? I think we need to cool down, chill out, cool your jets. And it may be appropriate to get the curves going at this point. Because I have the sense that this should be like a darker scene, especially if we're, we're pushing these particular hues. That lightens it up quite a bit. All right, so now let's go to curves. I was just checking the chat. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that you tell a completely different story. And, for like this, for example, right here, we're saying more or less that it's like early morning. That's my take on that. But then if we bring all this down, then we've got like a, sun is setting or sun has set. Kind of light. We'll zoom in on that. And then I think you can get some inspiration from these as well. So for example, let me take this and we'll just go, let's say, okay, we saw what that did. What if we had it like it's the light cast, end of the day. So it's just catching, kind of the top planes here. And we'll have it fade down. Maybe just barely catches the top of his shoulder right there. And he's got like a little, shiny helmet or something. So okay, and then down here, I think we'll darken all this up. And we can turn this back on. Here. We'll just start to darken that up, bring that into shadow. So now we've got this kind of different, it's a different idea going on, where we're highlighting the height of these guys by where the light hits them. Right, so then we can go maybe just a little lighter here. Maybe we want to show like that there are other like forms up here, so they're like if they're in this like a valley type thing. Maybe we do need to go a little more intense with that. Have the light hitting up here as well. Maybe catching the rim of that. And I think we could also start to think about that compositionally, like kind of having these, like if this is right here, it kind of leads right into here, right? And I might start playing with that. So. Maybe have that cast a shadow right there. What is this form even? I don't know. And the only real trick with this is that you do kind of have to go back and forth between your original, so that your adjustments, and actually you don't have to do that, but you can see what will happen if you don't. For example, we'll do a new layer, and if we start color picking this, these are going to be really intense blues because we're kind of duplicating the effect, which actually can be a pretty quick way to work if you want to kind of really go nuts with something. Part of what's nice about that is that you don't really have to, you don't have to stay in one zone, for colors. So if you are feeling stuck and you want some variety, then this is not a bad way to, you can just start color picking, and you'll see how it shifts the value, but it can still, I mean, it can get, obviously it's going to get crazy, but it can still be kind of homogeneous because it's all shifting in the same direction, because it's all being affected by these two, the curves and the color balance on top. Is this man making any sense at all? I don't know. Alright, so anyway, you can see that gives us like a completely different image to work from. And we'll go ahead and, oh, that's kind of fun. Just kind of duplicating those efforts. But anyway, we'll move that right there. And then what did we do here? It's kind of our original. That's the different lighting setup. We can adjust this now. We do something different. Have it be this kind of foggy. It'd be kind of fun to have it be this like kind of foggy scene where barely anything is coming through. And maybe if we just push those bright values like they're just trying to catch some light. No, I think we need to kind of bring it all together to keep that fog effect. So with this one, I think what we can do is we can grab this value in here, maybe kind of that middle area, and we'll just kind of work it up from the floor. So you've kind of got this like dust layer. And you can start layering with this too. So if you want this to be like a, I don't know, a rock structure or something there, draw a hard edge and then feather it out. You know, same thing here, maybe. Here's kind of the opposite because you got like a brighter color in there, which we could kind of have be like, you could have that be like a light source. So if you've got the city back there, you could have this all kind of underlit, you know, and then grab your city light color and push that up. That doesn't really help our smog effect too much. I think we'd be layering it, right? So like you'd have a layer of, like say you had a light coming in this way, right? So it would illuminate the atmosphere between us and our subject. But in the case of having it way in the background, then we actually have some kind of unilluminated fog between us and that. So I guess what I'm saying is you would handle that differently. So if I zoom in, you can see what I'm doing here. For like adding lights to these guys. Let's do like here. Okay. One of these, what was that? We were playing with one of these and it gave me an idea and I lost it. Oh yeah, to do like a beam of light coming down. So like maybe this would be a good candidate. That one. Oh, that's kind of fun. Let's do it again. Okay, so we're gonna move these up here. One there. And one there. Okay, so for this one, I'm thinking it would be kind of cool. Totally rad. To have some light coming down a wash over our figure. So the character here is Justice. That's the one in the center, and then you've got Vengeance on the left and Malice on the right here. There are a couple others in there, but those are the ones that we're kind of focused on here. So I think we could throw some rim lights on there. And we could probably afford to throw a few back in there. Maybe on this guy. Do we want to do that? I don't know. And then I think we need to reintroduce that fog kind of all around, you know, to show that these God rays, as they call them, these beams of light are, they're kind of situated in an environment that actually would catch that light, you know, because it's, because there's particles in the air. So that means where it catches light, it's going to be brighter, and where it does not, we're going to have to kind of obscure some of the shadow. The shadow just wouldn't be that strong because there's light, kind of an ambient light catching in between us and that point. Let's warm that up a bit there. And do we want that to maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure how much I want that to spill onto the other characters. I might want to keep that. I wanted to have a little bit of bounce light there, but I think I might just want to keep that dark in there. Maybe lighten this one up so it's farther back. this. We could shift it over so we can get more intensity, more saturation, with just a kind of a yellower cast to it rather than that soft, getting closer to orange. Do we need this behind our dude? I don't know. I don't know what I think about that. Kind of like it. Kind of goes a little bit against what I was just saying here, as far as having that darker atmosphere in there. Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. Maybe as it kind of comes towards us here. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm mixing two concepts together and struggling to make them both work. Anyway, I probably shouldn't go this far into one idea to try to get it working. Should just kind of back up and see if it stands on its own merits. Yeah, maybe that's the best thing to do right now. One moment. Yeah, so you're asking what they're doing. In this image, I think the idea is that they are advancing. So this is, I've talked about this concept a little bit before. You have these, you have this kind of network, this hive mind of humans, and the kind of most intense voices and most intense minds are the ones that kind of drive the whole collective, and they're the ones that we try to keep around forever. And so that's why we give them these, massive armored suits to keep them around hundreds of years longer than their natural lifespan would be. And so they're not just kept around, arbitrarily. like each one kind of represents a human kind of endowment, right? So if all of these minds are linked together and they all have a collective consciousness, then the mind that most closely represents or most intensely represents a sense of justice or a sense of order or deceit or vengeance or these different kind of human aspects that for any one individual, these kind of aspects of our lives, they kind of war within us, right? And so that's kind of the idea, is that you then have that abstracted to this collective consciousness. And so each character represents those things. It's similar to like the Greek pantheon idea, but kind of backwards. So instead of a god representing a human concept or human emotion, we actually have all humans kind of linked together, and then the ones who most exhibit that feature kind of rise to that status of deity or whatever. I mean, we consider them human, but it's almost kind of like protecting your brain. It's you protect your most vital organs, and so the collective protects its most vital characters. And so anyway, so that's kind of the concept. And justice is the kind of central figure, and they're, or at least in this image, vengeance. The story that I'm developing is about vengeance, and it's about how he becomes vengeance. He doesn't necessarily start that way. He kind of begins as a lieutenant or a tool of justice. So if you think about that whole concept of them, each character exhibiting an extreme trait or a very intense trait, this would kind of be like his underling. These are like the guys who have the same trait but not to the same degree. So they are his lieutenants, his squad kind of thing. And the story that's being developed is how one of his lieutenants goes from justice to vengeance, right? And kind of turns. And then you have Malice, which is another character that's kind of in a similar boat, but he's not the kind of lead. And so, what are they doing in this image? They have to have some kind of conflict that they're involved in, right? One of the concepts is that justice as a concept, not as a character, is something that really only happens as a response to injustice, right? If you think about this in our day and age, we talk about justice, but it's usually in the context of something has gone wrong, and you don't look for justice when there's peace and order and everything's fine. You look for justice when an injustice has occurred, or when there's something wrong, right? And so in this context, we have these characters more or less going to war against these other networks of. So in this idea, you get this collective of humans into one kind of hive mind, and that's a network, right? It's basically a social media kind of network, but evolved to be more than social media. It's actual connectedness as an organism, right? So then there would be competing networks or competing organisms of linked humans that may have developed in different ways, as far as they might not have the same kind of pantheon of extreme characters, right? Like their extreme characters might be completely different traits, completely different values. And so anyway, they're going to war. They gotta knock out the competing hive minds. So that's the idea in this one. This is kind of earlier on in the story. I feel like this is the part where I lose everybody. Like, oh, okay, that is a crazy idea. But I think once we sell it, well, once we get the visuals in there, it'll become all things will become clear. Let's see. This dude down here, his head is too big. And I do want to depart from the kind of, massive shoulder pad, StarCraft, Warhammer-esque kind of motif. There actually is a kind of a defined style that I suppose it does need to be refined, but the kind of the main idea behind it is this primarily mechanical focus, so less electrical connections and that sort of thing, and more in the vein of like push rods, pull rods, all that kind of thing. I just tend to think of that as it's more grounded, like it feels more like that world could not just could exist, but already has, very simple, kind of direct mechanical technology and less software. I don't think that's necessary right there. And I don't know if I should have like more light and just do it as a separate layer. We'll go bright light here, just kind of bouncing off of that. And maybe we should go a little more colored with that, you know, actually yellow, saturated yellow rather than like an off-white. Let's come back to this orange here and see if we can get these beams looking a little clearer. I don't know. And then does this need to go kind of get pushed back into the background? I don't know. I think in order to do that properly, I need to really establish the light source. I've kind of got it like almost directly behind him, and I think I'd rather it be, you know, more from above. We're gonna have it kind of wash straight down like this. But I don't know what I prefer. Let's zoom out. Usually you have a better idea when you're looking at it from a distance. Right before we knock that out. I think that's okay right there. I might push it back just a little bit. You know, since these are just kind of light rays, they don't have to be fully rendered. And then let's add another, either a color balance or a curves. Like I want to see if we intensify this. Going back to the chat, that one is really nice. Bottom left looks like could be the album cover. You painted any other characters? Yeah. They are in I'll pull it up here. There's a bunch of drawings, but there are some older concepts that I did. Alright, so that's the Justice character. And then this is Wit, you know, or just, it's kind of like a quick reacting character. I wasn't really into that one too much. Benevolence, Grace, this is Malice. This is Vengeance in his like most kind of stripped down form, you know, without his mech or whatever. Guile, kind of all lined up together. So anyway, yeah, that's those are some of the originals. I'll hop back in here and okay, I like that. It's much more dramatic. Kind of looking to the one next to it as a reference. So this, I like how that, you know, it gets kind of a little less saturated, creamy, desaturated. but let's do two versions. So one like that, and then one where it's blazing hot. But let's bring that up a little bit so that we do have a kind of a fog down there. And we can maybe cap out our light value. We can adjust the cast of it, or the color tint. So it's like, I think as we turn it more yellow, it increases that value contrast, and that makes it look like crisper and more of like the sky is a little more clear. As we bring it down more to those oranges, it blends in more with that background, and it just looks like I think it looks like there's more atmosphere in the air. And I think what we could do here with the blue, we could just kind of pin it there, and then pull it out in our light values. Gonna pull that down. We end up with just a very saturated yellow there. Let me see if we bring it up a little bit in our shadows, if we can make those softer. Something like that. All right, so let's have a look-see. We'll do that version. You go up there. Well, let's do this. Move that one down. And then we'll do that version. I think when you do this side by side, you start to see the benefits of each one. When you come in close, of course, you get to see it as a whole kind of ambiance or a whole scene. See this? Even though I think if you zoomed out, it would look, it would pop more than the other ones. When you actually look at it as like, this is the scene that we're in, I think that's just too much, too intense, Okay. That was an earlier version there. Yeah, okay. I liked what was happening here. This was, I think, a fun idea. The lighting is just kind of grazing across the top. Okay. And these are all slightly different compositions of the same thing. If you'll remember, we kind of distorted everything. Let me look at this one. I don't remember if we made... Yeah, I don't think we did anything to that one. In terms of color adjustment. I like that it's like kind of mostly gray. I'm gonna just pin a layer to that and just start kind of bringing in more like dust, you know, say they're kicking up dust as they're moving along here. We want to bring in some of these darker elements in the foreground, separate space a little bit. Maybe we'll just close all that up there. Into the same value. Okay. All right, I think we can do a color balance, or well, maybe let's start with the curves this time. Just on this guy already. Just checking the chat. I hope the story can live up to the art. Great stuff. I'm gonna head off. Good luck picking out of all these. All right, yeah. Thanks for joining in, and thanks for chatting. Good questions, good conversation. Yeah, that is the trick, right? Once you get to it, you say, do I really want to pick one and commit to it? Well, kind of have to. All right, let's change our. We could change our values in here, or rather our tone. Or we could address them with a color balance. I think we'll do them here. All right. We'll add a color balance on top of that. Just for the exploration. Yeah. So having it a little more yellow. Not that I really want that, but it just seems to like come together. Everything kind of melds, meshes together. Whereas going more blue, that yellow starts to pop off of that. So I think it's more a decision of like, how do I want this to be perceived? And I like the idea that this scene could be one that's really kind of muted and moody, right? So I think we can start by these guys here, kind of getting all of the really dark values out of them and pushing that back. Then I think we can do a little bit here on this main guy. Although I do want the contrast in there. What am I saying? Do I want the contrast in there? Maybe I don't. Maybe I want it low contrast so that it feels more foggy. Okay, I think we'll do one more on that. Color balance, I guess. Just because I think we can shift the overall cast and kind of get a different feeling of it. I know I've commented before that, when you're really starting noodling on these things, you sometimes find that when you settle somewhere, you come right back to the place that you started. Like you get it kind of dialed in where you think it should be, and then you hide the layer, and it's not too far off from where you started. Let's see. It's not far. I think I might change the blend mode to just color instead of normal, because it is, see, if you go to luminosity, it's pushing the value. I don't know what it is, whether I prefer the low contrast with a different cast to it, different kind of slight blue in there, or if I prefer the higher contrast, value contrast, and grayer colors. I think I'm going to go with color, and then the last thing I'm going to do is go to hue saturation, and we'll just lower this. One thing I'm thinking it would be kind of neat maybe to do, we'll do an overlay, grab one of these values, and we'll make these guys kind of darker on the top. I don't know in what lighting setup that would be would make any sense, but contrast wise, thought it'd be fun to try. Maybe just a little bit catching on that. base of that like chest plate type area there. Don't like it. Okay, I don't know, something like that. I think this needs to go darker still over here. Could be cleaned up. Let's see, let's do this. We'll do, let's see, sample all layers. We'll just grab this. And we'll mask it with that. See if that does anything for us. All right, I like it. I think it's a different image, so we'll separate those. This one can go over here. It's kind of the opposite of what's going on there, right? You get the light catching the top. This one you got the kind of shadows on the top. The light's catching kind of the bottom. There we go. And do we want this? Hue saturation there. I think so. I think it's okay. Wow. Look at all those options. And it's only almost midnight. Just looking at these compositionally, so this one, kind of straight verticals. This you've got, you're kind of zoomed out a little bit farther. And this one here, you're lower. And this one, I think they're framed pretty well. So it's kind of a question of what, not just the color, but what of these are working for what I want. I definitely like, let's go here. I think I like what's going on there and there, like this one and this one. Compositionally, I like this kind of triangle thing. It's sort of happening in these other ones, but it's more like an X, This one, I think it gets lost. You end up leading the eye into the hand there. I don't know, that might be kind of interesting to get an arc going on there. That'd be kind of cool. So let's do a little paint over. So let's marry those shapes together. And so if that's an arch, then like here, this should kind of come down into that character there. Hmm. Okay. So with this one, I think we can kind of reintroduce, this kind of these verticals in the sky here. Without really compromising on the circle composition that we've established. And we can, of course, break that line a little bit so that it's not absolutely perfect. I don't really like that. I think that character should be in there. We could merge these together too. It doesn't, that got separated as an effort to kind of make that character stand out a little bit there, but I think we could actually just kind of lose that edge. Merge those two guys together. Yeah, I don't know how much of an improvement that was. think on all of these images, this character on the right side here is just too strong. Too much value contrast in general. All right. This, I think we could push these values, these light values here, just push them a little bit darker. Maybe, you know, if you run down the middle, then you'll let the light kind of reflect on the, just on the edge highlight. If you know what I mean. I think that makes a world of difference on that one. It's a very small change, but that kind of encloses this shape against the background. Nope. Don't like that. This one's kind of fun with these little really bright, you know, these pops of bright red. this down here. Could probably, well, I don't know if that's quite right. I want it to be a little bit brighter, but I think we need to tread lightly. So we try to figure out what that would mean. Now, what I don't like about that is that it kind of appears as though it's just a turn of the form, and then it just goes dark here. So I think what we have to do is clean up the shape a little bit. So that it appears to be at an angle. What is this guy talking about? Appears to be at an angle. I'm telling you, one day it's all gonna make sense. So what I'm trying to say here is that you could bring in the light, like you can put a gradation on the light, and then if you just bring in a shadow shape that's kind of uniform across all that, then that can show the turn of the form more clearly. You know, I'm trying to make this make more sense, but you know, hearing it come out of my mouth, I'm like, no, that didn't land. Sorry. Okay, that definitely changed the shape of that and everything. It's funny because design-wise, I don't really care for this. Making all these changes, I kind of preferred it before. Alright, I think that's probably going too far. Alright, so it is after midnight. I am thinking whether or not now is the time to get into one of these. And I'm kind of thinking not. I think I'd rather sit on this one, let it stew a little bit, and come back to it. So I think we'll call it here. Let's get our top candidates. I do like that one. It's just simple and effective. I liked where this was headed, but then once I started noodling in there, it just became clear that I am not in the noodling mood right now. I like this one. A little bit of light hitting here. You know, I think there's some things we could do. Kind of get that diagonal thing going on. And lots of potential. So I think if I sit on this, come at it with fresh eyes, I'll have a different view of its potential. All right. Well, I think that'll be it for tonight. We're going to stop here. Let's see. It is the 15th of December. So with Christmas, next week will be the Wednesday before Christmas. I think there's no reason that I can think of, really, that I wouldn't do a live stream next week. But then the following week, I think we may take that one off. We shall see. All right. So hopefully you were working on your own project, painting something tonight, and got somewhere with that. Of course, if you have any questions, leave a comment. More than happy to answer questions. And I think this is a good place to stop for tonight. You know, we could have gotten into detailing, but I think that there's some options here. And if you'll recall, the initial thumbnail, we have all of the characters kind of separated. We've been painting on top of everything, doing color values and all, you know, all that kind of stuff, color and values and that sort of thing, and testing out some different lighting scenarios. But we could go back to that original with our characters cut out and recompose, you know, and use those masks. I think from here I would definitely be thinking to expand it. And I mean, these are at 25%, so these are actually pretty large images. But if I wanted to go with a full-size image, we'd take one thumbnail, expand it, and then start creating masks and so forth to get nice clean lines. And maybe we'll have an opportunity to do that. Excuse me, in future weeks. Can't guarantee that I will live stream the entire process, but I think it would be beneficial. You know, seeing where this started, how we got to this point, and then if and when I come to finish this off, I think that would probably be a beneficial thing for you all to be able to see that. Okay. I think that's it for tonight. Have a good night. And should be here next week. All right. Take care.